So what was your biggest impression at the World's Fair when you finally got there?
Oh, jeez. I mean, the taxi driver dropped us off at the entrance, and at the entrance was this humongous globe of the of the planet. And I remember thinking, that's the biggest thing I think I've ever seen. It was architecture, which I kind of love, and just seeing it in that kind of scale, because you have to understand, go to school, you have these little, metal, at the time, globes that were, with all the different colors, and, all the countries were delineated, but to see it on that scale, it was just kind of like, wow, that's pretty impressive. So, yeah. And then at some point, I think I realized, because there were all the different pavilions of all the different countries, that there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people, a lot of countries, a lot of cultures, a lot of everything, and just being really impressed. And being a kid who loved to learn and loved information, this was like the bomb. This is great.
Did you lose the American-centric point of view at that point, or did you start to think, man, there are other cultures out there that I want to find out about?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, because, Ethiopia, what the hell? First of all, where is it? And everybody was black, which was not something we had a lot of in, Norwood, Massachusetts. Like, there were only 2 families in Norwood, Massachusetts. And, yeah, that was quite the experience. Plus, we had desegregation going. So Boston had a lot of folks that were black, but it was an ugly, ugly, ugly time. And we can get into that later, because that's just a whole sad story. But the World's Fair showed me that there were different people, different colors, different cultures, and so much more to learn. It was like my brain could not get enough information fast enough. I just wanted like a computer dump right into my brain. It was amazing, and for a kid that likes to learn, I just loved it. I could have stayed there forever.
So what were the crowds like there?
Oh my God. We were like elbow to elbow with people. And I remember Daddy being very concerned about losing either Nisi or me. And it was like, hold on to the carriage, hold on to the stroller, so that we wouldn't get separated. And I think, I want to say Daddy took movies, but I don't think he did. We were not picture takers or movie takers. Some families, they've always got the camera out, and we weren't one of those. I know that there's some 8mm films, like it would have been for Christmas or something. But I don't recall seeing them often. They didn't come out like, oh, let's watch the movies. No, that didn't happen.
But the crowds were just huge, something you'd never experienced before?
I don't think I've ever seen that many people in one place, other than 4th of July in downtown Norwood, when people came from a few towns around to watch the parade, which we thought was great. But it certainly wasn't Macy's.
So that was the big vacation.
I would say it was, yeah.
Or the big 3 weeks in the big city. 3 days, excuse me. 3 days in the big city.
Yeah.
Well, it left a lasting impression, I guess.
You had to be there. It was amazing. It really was amazing.
So what would your takeaway be just from going there? If you had to tell your grandchildren what you learned.
I learned that the world is a whole lot bigger than Norwood, Massachusetts, and that there were people that were a whole lot different than the folks in Norwood, Massachusetts, and that there was so much to learn. There was so much, back then technology, which of course, now, I mean, we're going through cell phones every couple of years, and, we've got microwave ovens and big screen TVs and Zoom, and we've got all of this technology now that was just like somebody's thoughts back in 1964. So, an amazing time, and to see all of this in a very short space of time. Technology is just like whoosh from 1964 on. It's amazing, and you really do need to go back and see what was happening in the late 50s and the early 60s to see just how far we've come, not just with technology, but with attitudes and what home life was like. Because I'll tell you something, it is now 2023, and nothing is the same. Women have come a long way, and there's been a whole attitude shift. That's another story.
Well, speaking of home life, vacations. I mean, in the 60s, if you were a baby boomer, whether your father worked as an executive or in a factory, they made enough money where the mother could stay home and you could take vacations. What were our vacations and holidays like?
Well, holidays, I mean, I think it was pretty typical for us kids, because we were the kids of veterans, and although the homes were built on the GI Bill, our neighborhood was built on the GI Bill, and we all had these very nice little Cape Cod style houses in one iteration or another. Nothing fancy. I would like to say that more than half of the neighborhood was blue collar. Daddy was an executive, and I can't quite remember the whole story behind that. But anyway, he was, and he had a good salary. But Daddy was not the one to go adventuring or exploring. But he did understand that, you took a vacation. Now, we went to, it was Dennis, the town of Dennis, which is on Cape Cod. And we went there one summer for a week. And we never went back. And I'm pretty sure I can tell you why. Because every time we went on a vacation away from home, and we had to set up housekeeping in another place, that was so much work for my mother. She did not appreciate it, because it was not a vacation for her. Because she had to pack up the sheets and the dishes and all this other stuff. I mean, she was like a frickin' slave, for God's sakes. Oh yeah, pack up everything, I'll help you. And of course, that didn't happen. So she'd spend 2 weeks packing everything up, getting ready for vacation. She'd get up there, having to unpack it all. And then, she still ended up cooking breakfast, lunch, and supper. So yeah, no vacation for Mom. God love that woman. But they were fun for us, the vacation down on the Cape. I mean, we were in salt water for the first time. And that was like appalling, because you get a mouth full of it. It was like, what the hell is that? Jesus.
What was your
It was awful.
What was your
Oh, I just remembered.
At your surprise at that, what was the question you asked your mother?
Where did they get all the salt? Probably. It was just like, what is this? And I'm sure that, Daddy sat down and explained the whole thing to me, because, again, we were people of knowledge, more or less. And, God forbid something got by without an explanation. So that's why I am the way I am. Yeah.
So where else did you take vacations?
Where else? I'm trying to think. And we went to New Hampshire. We went to a place called Newfound Lake, up in Bristol, New Hampshire. And it was, at the time, one of the cleanest lakes on the planet. It was totally unpolluted and beautiful scenery. So yeah, we stayed at Shackett's Cottages, and we were there for, I can't remember if it was a week or two, but you know, was it 2 weeks? Yeah, but we loved that place, and we stayed there for 3 or 4 years, and then Daddy passed away, and Mom couldn't go back, and that was the year that we went to Hampton Beach for a week, and you know, that was enough. And once again, Hampton Beach, oh my God, the water's like 50 degrees. So basically, you got into the water, your body went into shock, and then you could stay in the water because your body was in shock. It was frigid, but there were hundreds of people in the water, and I thought, this is crazy, I'm not coming back here again.
What made your mother pick Hampton Beach?
She wanted to take a vacation, and the Fitzpatricks, who were very good friends, had a cottage up there, and we talked to them, and they said, no, you just got to come up here, and you know, you'll be among friends. It was very important. Mom was totally lost after Daddy passed away, so you know, I just remember Mom went up looking like you know, an Irish girl because her skin was very fair. But by the time she came home, she was like brown as a berry. I've never seen anybody tan that fast or that deep in my life, but she did. And she had on like this fuchsia-colored bathing suit, and you know, she was a beautiful woman. So yeah, she just looked amazing. And she kind of loved that fact that she just looked so it. But, yeah, we had a good time, but not a place I wanted to go back to because you couldn't get in the water. It was freaking frigid, absolutely. So yeah, we didn't do a lot of family vacations. If Daddy had a vacation, he just wanted to stay home, relax, and not answer the phone, and yeah, and that was fine because yeah, we wanted to hang out with our friends.
On the holidays, did you do anything
Holidays.
when you were younger? Both your sets of your grandparents were alive.
Yeah.
What was that like? What did you have to go from one set to the other?
Oh yeah. The way it worked was Christmas Eve is when we opened our presents as a family, and then Santa came Christmas morning.
Is there a reason for that?
It's just a tradition of some sort. I couldn't tell you. I think it was more to appreciate the gifts that we got from the people that we knew, as opposed to confusing it with the Santa gifts. So yes, we were appreciative. And then on Christmas Day, Santa Claus came in the morning. We opened our presents from there, and there was a lot of oohing and ahhing. And I remember one Christmas, I had gotten past the Santa Claus stage, and there was a stereo, a portable stereo, and record albums, and a couple of other things. And I remember crying because I knew where they came from and the cost, and thinking I did not deserve that, and crying. And Mom came out. She said, "Don't you like them?" And I'm like, "I love them." And I explained why. And she said, "You're such a good kid. You never give us a moment's worry, and you take care of your brother and sister. You deserve this." And I remember thinking, "Oh my God, that's a mighty burden now." So, but it was, yeah. I think I played that thing to death, and I loved every minute of it. But yeah, so that was like a Christmas. You know, as I got older, it became more important because we had kind of gotten past the person from the North Pole, and I knew what was happening. So yeah, made me very appreciative, and I was questioning whether or not I deserved what I got.
So after you opened the presents Christmas morning, was there anything else you would do?
Oh yeah, then we had to get dressed. I'm pretty sure we had to go to church. Yeah, we had to go to church. And then that would be the 11 o'clock. Mass. And then we come home, and did we get changed? I don't know if we got changed into something that was more play clothes or whatever. No. We stayed in the fancy clothes because you had to take pictures for posterity. Anyway, we'd go to my Stavely grandparents' house. So that was Jack and Jen. And we had dinner there, and Aunt Gladys would come out for that. That was Grandpa's sister. And I think that Aunt Dee Dee, that was Delina Coleman, that was Nana's sister, would come also. And maybe on a rare occasion, her friend, Marion, would join us. Marion and Dee Dee were housemates in Dover. You have to understand when this was. It would have been referred to quietly as a Boston marriage, which was the polite way of saying that they were gay. Which, of course, you couldn't even talk about that back then. But it was kind of one of those whispers. Anyway, Dee Dee was hilarious. One of the funniest women I've ever known, and very loving. And her friend Marion was a very kind, sweet, reserved woman. And I want to say Marion was a teacher, and Dee Dee, I think, I don't know what the hell she did. I don't know. She may have been retired, but she was a widow. I know that. She had been married to Dan, and everybody loved Dan. And I know somewhere in the pile of paperwork there, I know what he died from, but I now have to resort to notes because the brain is overloaded.
It's okay.
But yeah, the holidays were like that. So then after we'd have lunch, or luncheon dinner, which was a big dinner, we would get in the car and we would drive up to Natick, Massachusetts, which was about, I don't know, a half an hour or so away. And we'd go to Daddy's family. And that was always a raucous time, because that was a family that loved music, and they all played instruments. So we only saw them on holidays, and that's a whole different story. But I remember the last Christmas, which was, I'm going to say 62, and then it was around there, 62, 63. Beezy passed away suddenly from a massive heart attack, which apparently runs in the family back then. And then Graham just picked up stakes and went to South Carolina, Chester, South Carolina. And I'm still trying to find out why. I had asked the cousins in Texas, the Sinclair cousin, and they are so stingy with information. They like hoard information. It's like, we know something you don't know, nanny, noo. Seriously. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm still digging, but every time I dig a little further, I find out something else. So eventually, hopefully, before I move on to the universe, I'll have some kind of an answer for y'all, but I don't know.
Anyways, back to the Christmas day, and I guess it was live music at the house?
Oh, yes, let's see.
Who played what?
Well, yeah, Dot played the piano like a crazy woman. I mean, that woman could play anything, and she loved rock and roll music. She loved, I want to say, ragtime music. She could play anything.
Now, who was Dot?
Dot was Dorothy Elaine Beale Parsons, Daddy's sister, Daddy's younger sister. She was the eldest. So Dot was the middle child, and so she played the piano, amazing. She was a very smart, talented woman, and yeah,
No, did
that's
he?
sad.
Did
Her
he
whole
have?
life was sad.
Did he have other siblings?
Oh, then there was Evelyn, and Evelyn was the beauty. She was raven-haired, blue-eyed, gorgeous, funny, and a renegade. That girl, ooh. She was uncontrollable. She was wild. I mean, that girl, she was tall, she was slender, beautiful, and Dot liked guys, and she would, sneak out, and she would.
Dot or Evelyn?
I'm sorry, Evelyn would sneak out and go with her friends down to Norwood, Massachusetts, to the stock car races, and that was just like appalling, as far as my father was concerned. And then she got really involved with folks down there, and ended up being in the powder puff races. So yeah, she raced stock cars down at the Norwood Arena, and she won quite a few. So yeah, I kind of loved Evelyn. She was wild and crazy and smart and yeah, beautiful.
I want to get back to that, but first finish the live music. So
So
yeah,
who else played?
Dot,
Everybody played.
Dot played the piano. What did Evelyn play?
I think she had a brass instrument. I'm not quite sure which. She might have played the trumpet. Daddy played the trombone, and he played the banjo, and the cornet, and the violin. I think the only time I ever saw him pick up a violin though was at his family's house, because we didn't have one at the house. He had his trombone, and there was a trumpet.
Now, did your grandparents play any instruments?
Well, Grandma, no, Grandma did not. Beezy may have, I don't know. I don't recall having a memory of him doing that. I can't say I didn't see him, but I don't have a memory of him doing that. But he just might have had a voice. There was a lot of singing. There was a lot of dancing.
What, the neighbors would come over?
Oh no, in the house there were kids and the adults and everybody was just, I mean, it was pretty raucous, and I loved it. And then it would come to be like 10 o'clock, and Dad would say, okay, time to go, round up the kids, and we would. And you, Brother Bill, was just a toddler at the time, so I don't know, you probably were flaked out like in bed someplace. But yeah, it was noisy and it was raucous, and I just remember thinking that house was going to fall down any second, because it was actually perched on a ledge, and being afraid. It was like, don't go out on the sun porch part. And Daddy was really adamant about that. But that's where the piano was. You have to understand, it was an old farmhouse type house that was built on like the house that Jack built, which is a phrase that only people my age would probably remember. It was a house that kept getting added on to, not necessarily by like contractors.
No permits?
Permits, bah! Permits. It was like you drew it out on a napkin or a piece of paper and then said, okay, yeah, we can do this, and then you just got the lumber and did it. It was, oh my, yeah. Always an adventure. Always an adventure. Everything was temporarily permanent. And I'm just really glad that our home was built by a contractor.